G'day guys, Bennymacca here. I'm going to run through a hand history review given to me by Luke, who's liverpool015, and this is a $2 rebuy, I think it is. So yeah, I can't remember where he finishes, so I don't think it's especially deep, but there's a fair bit of early stage play, so might just see how it goes. One thing I will do is I've got the hand history also loaded up in Hold'em Manager, so if there's a point where I think HUD stats might be useful, I'll bring it up there. Otherwise, I'll keep that off screen just because the universal replay is heaps easier to use, basically. So yeah, I'm not exactly sure. Luke's obviously late regoed here because we've got a guy on 13k over here already, so but that's fine. We're still pretty early in the tournament. It's probably second level, probably start at 15:30. So fold Jack 9. In rebuys, I'm probably more likely to speculate, and I'm pretty much never 3-betting light. So just got 9-3 here, and that's an easy fold after he pots it. Pretty much never 3-betting light, but I might flat a lot more with hands that can flop pretty huge. Just here, where with the two limpers there, we're getting 12.5 to 1, as you can see up in the top right there. I'm probably calling with King Deuce, even though it's horrible. But if we see here, let's just, for instance, bring up Stove and put in a 30% range, which I think is probably even optimistic, and we'll put in a 30% range for both of those limpers, and then we'll put what was it, King of Spades, Two of Hearts in here, and we'll give the big blind a random hand. So then if we click on Monte Carlo and evaluate, we can see that we're getting roughly 17% equity against that sort of range. And we need 12.5%. So, excuse me, you can see that it's kind of marginal there, but because it's early on and it's a rebuy period and we're, 100 big blinds deep, I think it's definitely worth just calling to speculate. But we fold, and on a flop like this, if we had our king, I just would have been trying to pot control it really. And we get 10-8 for a gutter and king 4. So as you can see though, they're limping quite a lot. So I think it's definitely worth trying to speculate with those sort of hands, especially when we're getting a discount out of one of the blinds. If we're in the button, I would have just folded. 7-5. I don't actually mind this. I mean, I like it less just because it's a 4x raise by Rices here. If he's only making it 2.5 or 3, I think I call every time. Calling here quite often sets up a chain of limpers where the small and the big will limp, and then the original limper will come along as well. So you can set up quite a big pot. You can play like, what's that, a 1k pot for 200. So I don't usually mind doing it. The blinds seem to fold this time, but the original guy calls. I probably like it better if it was suited connectors rather than a one gapper, but I still don't mind this early in a rebar period. So we bet 40% pot, which is fine, and then the turn we barrel off. You have to be a bit careful about barreling early on, just for the fact that they're never ever folding really, unless they've got complete air. If they catch a piece of it, like if he has an 8 here, he's never folding. So you have a lot less fold equity in the rebuy period than what you otherwise would have. So I probably just check back here after c-betting on the after taking a stab on the flop, just trying to bank, but he folds, so that's all sweet. This is another one where I like limping, where I like flatting that raise. There's a fair chance that you'll get the blinds and the original limper to come along again, especially this guy's limped 3 times now, so we know he's a super fish. And you can see if we bring in the stats, he's at 63.0, so awesome. So as you can see, the button, the small blind, both flat, and the original flatter comes along, and we're playing an 800 pot now. And because of the fact that they never fold top pair anymore, if we hit a set, then we're pretty much getting a stack the whole time, and that's an easy fold. Ace 9, this is another hand where I like limping. I don't really like isolating because as I said before, people like to flat a lot more, so you end up playing a huge pot with Ace 9. But I definitely like flatting here. And after that raise, I'm probably flatting again, just to... there's no real point in folding for that extra 200 chips. And we get a pretty shit flop, so it's just unlucky. 10-6 is a fold, 3-8 is a fold, Jack 7 is a fold, Ace Jack under the gun. I'm pretty anti in a rebuy period. I'm probably even making it slightly more than 155. I'd probably still go full 3x, but I know a lot of people don't, and that's probably just more like a style thing. So, 155 is probably okay still. Then we get a flat and then a shove from a shorty, so I'm never folding here ever. Even when that guy calls, I think it's just put it in and hope, even if you've only hit a 3-outer, it's still worth getting it in here. And we're in surprisingly good shape, but we lose. Oh well. So we've got 1500 left here. I probably would have rebought up to 3.5k, but maybe you'll do that next hand. I don't know. Once again, here's a really good spot to be flatting. You're getting huge odds. You're getting 6.5 to 1. Flop a flush draw and get it in, hopefully, when that's a pretty awesome flop for us. I'd definitely be checking here. We've only got 1400 and the pot's 900, so we can easily check call and get it in by the river, or check jam, depending on what we feel like. With these two, I would probably jam, and I kind of like that. And we actually get it in kind of bad and get there. Well, not bad, but we're behind. And now we're back up to a decent stack. Is that the end of the rebuy period? Okay, so that pot's 39.32, and then we have 59.02. Okay, so now this is the end of the... That's weird. Maybe you did rebuy, and it let you do it. I think that might have what happened. Anyway, now we've got 59, and we're definitely limping here again. And we flop an ace. I'm probably trying to pot control here a little bit. I'm not really sure I like your lead, but now that we've turned a draw, I'm definitely barreling off, which is nice. And then on that river, it's kind of interesting because that board looks like a board that people are going to be chopping on a lot. So I kind of like betting here quite small, try and get a call out of anything expecting to chop. So I reckon I bet like 200 or something like that. Checking's not too bad either. And he shows another ace, and we actually win, so that's nice. Got Queen 8 once again with a couple of limpers. I like limping here. Given that they're suited and we're still relatively deep, I think it's a good hand to speculate with and play a 5-way pot. Queen 5 is a fold. 4/8's fold. 9/8's fold. Ace-5 under the guns a fold. Yeah, 4 deuce off. You never even know. Once again, there's lots of lots in the pot, and we're getting 5.5 to 1. I don't think deuce 4 off is good enough, but if they were suited, I might, just to, because it allows you to smash a flop, really. 10 deuce, queen deuce, 9/8. Now we have an all-in shove for like, what's that, 4.5 big blinds, and then a call. I don't mind calling here, which you do, which is nice. Just the call is going to set up a lot of calls, and you're going to play a huge pot with a hand that has a chance to smash it. See, now for 300, we're playing a nearly 2k pot, which I think is pretty decent odds with a hand like 8-9, and we whiff pretty hard. That really sucks, that small bet. I'm not really sure what you can do there. I mean, there's one spade there. Is it worth calling for backdoor draws? It probably isn't, so it's really funny. I wonder what they have. Oh, we turned a backdoor draw, but we miss, and then he spikes, so there's a fair chance he had a jack there. Yep. Alright. 5-4. And we have jacks. I'd be raising and getting it in here. I like the sizing. And even after that ship, I don't think I'm ever folding. Yep, that's fine. What did we run into? Ace king. Queen 9, awesome. And 3s. So yeah, look how we got it in amazingly good there, 4 ways, and just didn't manage to hold. But I think the chance of getting a huge stack, that's pretty much what you're after, so I think that's fine. Limping the 6-4 here, we're only 26 bigs deep now, and the antes have kicked in, so I probably don't like limping as much anymore, especially open limping. When there's already an open limping, I like limping behind quite a lot, but I don't really like open limping myself, so I think I'm folding here most of the time. It's not a bad flop for us. I'd be putting in a bet here of about 220. Not really sure why we went so big here. Don't think it's really required. We kind of have to stack off here if we get raised, which is going to suck. But that's a pretty nice turn for us, so I'd be just shipping it, which we do. And if you were setting yourself up for a turn shove, although there was 2 callers, so that's not really going to happen that often. So yeah, I'm not really sure what that large bet on the flop was, but it's a nice turn, and I think I'm definitely shoving there. And we get folds, so that's nice. Ace-3 under the gun, I'm probably folding just for the fact that we're gonna get a limpers a lot, and we're gonna have to play out of position. And as I say that, only the big blind calls. It's an awesome flop, so I'm definitely getting it in. Nice to see that the opposite happens of what I say. And we're not doing anything with that hand. It's a fold, 10. I like your fold here. Ace-3 off isn't ever going to smash a flop unless you basically flop a wheel draw or 2 pair. So if it was Ace-3 suited, I would like it a lot more, and I'd probably call. But I don't mind a fold here. Oh, and then we just flop our wheel draw. I'll just see how this runs out. No. Yep, 3x under the gun. It's probably a fair bit of strength. It's not a bad fold. Ace-7. Yep, since we're sort of, what's that? Mid position, I don't actually mind a raise here, but folding's not horrible either, to be honest. It's kind of either or, because this is the situation that you really don't like, because now we have to play a 1k pot out of position with ace-7 off. And even if we flop an ace, it kind of puts us in a weird spot if we get flattered here. I think we still have to bet. But now it's kind of weird because I think we kind of have to pot control, and then we've got, there's 2k in there and we've only got 3.5 left, so we're in a bit of an awkward spot now. I like your check, and I'm probably check calling on this river again. I bet it's pretty large too. I'm just struggling to think what would call you here, because I guess sixes, eights, and nines might call. You lose to every better ace, and aces are going to call. Worse aces might call still. But there's only ace-6. Ace. I guess ace-2 and 3 might call as well. I'd probably just like check calling and trying to bluff catch here, to be honest. And we get a fold. Definitely like the limp behind here, trying to set mine. As I said before, I don't really like open limping, but as soon as someone else limps, I like limping behind it. Kind of, especially with hands like this, where it hopefully sets up a chain of limpers, and on a flop like that, I'm just giving up. I don't really think this is necessary. There's just too many draws that are going to be calling here. There's too many pair plus draw type hands. 6-7 or 6-7 got there, but I still don't think a flush draw folds or an 8 folds, even though there's a one-liner to a straight. Having said that, they all fold, but I kind of like just checking behind, and I don't think the pot's really worth fighting for at that stage. Not in this early stages. Ace-2 fold, 10-4 fold. And we get a walk, that's always nice. With the king-8 here, it's kind of, once again, if that was suited, I'd probably call. I would probably call 9-10 off. I would call, Queen 10, Queen Jack, Jack 9 maybe. I don't think King 8's quite good enough, because you're not going to get a straight in there. Fours, 100% flatting this, and we do, which is nice. And we finally hit our set, so it's time to get some value now and do bombs it for us, and we get a flat. I'm just stuffing it in here as well. They're never folding draws. They're always getting it in with diamonds. They're always getting it in with a king here, just putting you on a draw. I don't really like flatting, because if you flat and a club peels, then if you flatten a club peels, then you're not going to get much value out of a king, because they're going to try and shut down now. So I really like jamming, especially because there's a fair bit in the pot already. So well played. We get it in against a king, and we get there. So nice pot. And we have pick up 5s and it's open, which is fine. We get it through. Now I think in general we've played this quite well. I like how you're limping behind and with hands that can try and smash a flop. But I think you need to just limit the amount of bluffing pre-ante, because I just don't think people fold enough. This is probably another good example. I don't really like opening here, because I just don't think they're folding often enough to make it profitable. Probably just fold. Go ahead and fold here. Pretty nice flop. Yep, that's fine. Queen 8's fold. Queen 3's fold. 6-4's fold. 3-4. Ace 10. This donk bet's so weird, and it happens all the time in rebuy periods. It usually means that they've caught a piece of it, whether that even means a draw. Sometimes that's like, Queen 10 for a gutter. They can be a lot of things like that. So a lot of the time, you're getting 9 to 1, 8.6 to 1 on a call here. He's got a huge stack. I kind of like just peeling even to try and hit a race here a lot of the time. Just for the fact that this never is strength. It's always a draw, or at the best it's a very weak jack, but most of the time it's an 8 or a draw, in my opinion. And now he comes out and see, he had an 8. So I think we definitely have odds against hands like that, to be calling even with our 6-out draw. And as you can see, we had a backdoor straight draw as well. Queen Jack under the gun. Don't mind a fold, but we can probably open here, given that the whole table's pretty deep now. It's actually amazing how deep it is. No one's got a start stack anymore. I like defending here. We're pretty deep, and yep, that's fine. The stab on the turn. We can probably just. We've picked up a gutter, so why not just try and check it and get to showdown? Because you're not really folding anything out. Like an 8 doesn't fold here. If he's got something like 7, 9, or even if he has like 9, 10, he's not folding. If he has even something like Jack 10 or Jack 9, he may not even fold. So, and those hands, still have 10 outs against us. So most of the time here, I just like checking and trying to get a showdown. And because now we have to give up after his calls. 5-8. It's fold. 3-7's fold. I don't like light 3 betting at all at this point in the tournament. Pretty sure this is still pre-rebuy period. I might be wrong. 7. Yeah, I'd love to know when the rebuy period ended, but I still, if I'm going to be light 3 betting, I'd rather do it with a hand that has a little bit more equity than that. I'd rather do it with, say, 8, 9 of hearts or something like that. At least that gives you multiple options when they call, when you see a flop, because if you flop a flush draw, you can stay aggressive, where because a flush draw, let's say you flop a 7-9 flop, right? If you have a flush draw with that gutter, it becomes a pretty strong hand, whereas now you're just flopping a gutter, and so it becomes really hard to stay aggressive on a board like that. So I'd much rather have a suited hand that maybe has a little bit higher equity, maybe 9-10 or something like that, just so they might flat your 3-bet with 8s and things like that. If you're going to do that, if you're going to 3-bet, you have to c-bet on a board like that, which is fine, and you get it to fold. Queen 9, I like the open. It's a pretty horrible flop for us, really, but I think it's worth c-betting, which we do. On this turn, I think checking is the right move. I think if you barrel off here again, you're never getting called by anything less than, say, a pair and a flush draw. Most of the time it'll be a 10. I think it's much better to check and try and bluff catch from now on. Now, his bet here, it's really weird because we're in a tough spot now. I mean, I kind of like just folding, because if we call here and the river say the deuce of clubs, the deuce of spades, then what do? I think we have to check fold. So if we're going to be check folding, even if none of the flush draws get there, then I think we kind of have to fold now. Maybe that's a little bit weak, but I think that's the right play. But you call, which wow, I swear I haven't even seen this hand before. It was the deuce of diamonds anyway. So now we're put in a really tough spot, because he can bluff all of his made hands, and he can bet his 10 for value if he has it. So he can, if he has King X of clubs, he can bluff that as well, because it's pretty obvious we don't have a 10 now. So now we're in a super tough spot when he does that, and I think we have to fold, which really sucks. We call and he has a 10. So yeah, I think in this hand, I think we probably just had to fold on the turn, because I think we were just facing all of his draws. I think a continuing aggression and trying to bluff a lot of the time. So, and it's really hard for us to know whether he has a 10, because you could have King 10, Jack 10, Queen 10. They're all there. There's so many 10s in his range, and only a small part of it is missed draws that we beat. So I think it's just worth folding there. Ace-6 off. I'm not sure whether there's rebuy period anymore. I'm not a huge fan of defending ace-6 off, just for the fact that I don't think it can flop that well, and we're going to be playing out of position against another deep stack when we're 40 bigs deep. So I'd probably just fold here, because on this flop we're just check folding. Oh, we float out of position. Yeah, I really don't like this, just for the fact that on the turn now is, unless we're going to check call and then lead turn, which is still, it kind of puts him in a tough spot, but we're kind of guessing, because we really don't know his range now. And we checks through, and wow, we snap off King 9. So maybe you had some sort of read. What do we have here? Looks like Rollis Ace was a 47-12. So, oh no, what a note card he have on him. Cold calls in position, limps behind with 6-3, opens in early position with King 7. I kind of don't mind that hand now. It makes slightly more sense. So given that information that we found from Note Caddy, he puts in a 1/3 pot bet, and we check call, and then check. Given that he's a fish, I don't think he ever has a jack now, so we can probably eliminate most value hands from his range. So I take that back. I don't actually mind that, but that's something that you definitely have to do with specific reads. So given that Roller's Ace is a fish, I'm guessing you had a really nice read there on him. So King Queen, raising a 3-bet, or in a shove, we're obviously folding. King 2, King Queen. Now we've gotten 4x open from what level? What hand about 68. So our Teslata is a 1510, and we don't really have any information on him, so given that he's 4xing here and he's a 1510, I think in general this is weighted towards value more than it is, you know, a hand that I think his opening 4x range here crushes King Queen, so I think I'd definitely just be folding. And now we're playing a huge pot with flop top pair, which is nice. I think I bet there too. I think there's, you know, 3 other people in the hand. You don't want them to see the turn for cheap if they have a hand like Queen Jack. So I think we can definitely bet for value against some draws here. And they all fold, so that's really weird. I mean, but Adeslada could have easily had something like Queens here, and given that he's pretty obviously a fish because he's 4xing, he probably just check fold on a board like that with an overcard. So I'm still not a big fan of flatting the King Jack there, the King Queen there, to be honest. Queen 6 of fold, Queens, and we open and we get 3-bet. I'm pretty happy getting it in here. 40 big steep. Wow. This is interesting. So Adeslada now shoves and a Testala. I wonder where that is. And we're kind of in a tough spot here. Bang. What's that? Babingida is relatively active, so he could be 3-betting lightish, but the fact that we're under the gun probably means he's a little bit tighter than normal, and then we get a shove on that. So this is really tough. I could nearly find a fold here, to be honest. Yeah, this is one of those things where I think in game you probably have a bit more of a feeling about how light Adeslada is here. I could see myself calling sometimes and folding sometimes here, to be honest. And you make the call, and he wakes up with 6s. So that's something I'd definitely be noting, that he's 4-bet shoving and under the gun raise and a 3-bet. That's really quite horrible. And we get gifted a whole stack, so that's really awesome. Now we're like 80 bigs deep now with Voilith here, so I really don't mind flatting here. Nor if we were only 40 bigs deep, I think it's definitely a fold, but I think flatting here is actually fine, just to try and smash a flop. And it's not really the flop we wanted. Right here, even though we flopped their open ender, we've probably only got 6 clean outs. And the fact that he's got a lot of ace king and ace queen in his range means that we may only have 5 clean outs, because if he has, you know, ace queen of spades, then we really only have 5 clean outs, because of the hearts. And if the hearts hit, we're playing out of position. It's a potential scare card for him, so we're not getting value even if we do hit our ace of hearts. He can bluff us off the hand quite a lot, and yeah, as I said, he also has blockers to our straight with his ace high hands, and he could even have ace jack or ace 10 a lot of the time too. Ace 9 is probably a bit unlikely, but so really we've only got the three non-heart 9s and possibly the 3 aces as well, but he could have one of them, so there's a fair chance we really only have 5 clean outs, which is not quite enough to be calling here. especially given we're out of position. So, and it's going to be hard to win the pot any other way. So I really just like folding on this flop. Because now we're put in a really tough spot when he does this again, because we really can't call. But we do, and yeah, I really don't like this, to be honest. I just think we should have just check folded the flop and saved ourselves a lot of chips. Yeah, this bet on the river, I'm not really sure what it reps. It pretty much says to me I've missed my draw, because that king on the river doesn't change anything. I think if I had a queen here, if I had ace queen and I was double barreling, I'm calling because it's less likely to have a king. If you have aces, I'm still calling. It really looks like missed hearts or a missed straight draw to me, so I really don't like this bet, to be honest. It just kind of, it almost screams a bit of desperation, just like, shit, there's 10k in the pot. I don't really want to leave that out there, and I guess that's nice in some way that you're willing to fight for the pots, but I really would have just check folded on the flop, because he flops the flush, and I think that he played it fine. Yeah, and that's what I was talking about. I mean, I didn't actually mention that earlier, that he could have flopped the flush. I mean, I didn't even consider that, to be honest, but definitely something that probably should have considered. I mean, if it comes the ace of spades on the turn there, I mean, you're going to lose a huge pot to this guy. So I think check folding on a flop is the way to go. Now we pick up king jack on the button the next hand, I think, and we call. What are we? 40 bigs deep, effective. Kind of don't mind a call here. You could probably 3-bet too if you wanted to, but we think we're still deep enough to call, and that's a pretty nice flop. I'd probably be flatting in position here, but a raise, I actually don't mind a raise as well, but I think if you raise, you kind of have to be willing to get it in, especially with your raise sizing here. I mean, if he shoves, I think we have to call, so if you're raising to get it in every time, then I think that's fine, to be honest. And he calls, and we bink the turn. So now we're trying to get his whole stack, obviously, and he's got 12k, and the pot's about 9k, so in this scenario, I'd be trying to make my bet kind of small, which would allow him to shove if he's got, say, the ace of clubs. Try and make him think he has fold equity, and also if he has, say, aces or queens or something like that, that he might, small enough that he might call and then find himself committed. So I'd probably be probably betting like 3.5k here. If I bet 3.5k, then I make the pot 14k, and you have 8k on the river, which is only 60% pot, which I think means that you might commit him even if they're, if the river blanks off. So 3.5k, beautiful, love it. And see, now he has 8k into 16k, and I think it's pretty easy shove on the river. Yeah, why not just shove? I don't see why you need, just make it 9k. I don't see why you need to make it 50, 100. Yeah, but he shoves anyway. And he had the straight, and so we own him, so, which is nice. But, I mean, shoving 8k, you basically shoved 8k there anyway, so. And now we have a monster stack again. I like folding the ace-4 there. Ace-8 open is fine, and we get a shove and a call, so really don't like this. We're going to be playing out of position against a guy that's 50 big blinds deep with ace-8 off, and he's called an open and a 3-bet jam. So even though it's a 10 big blind 3-bet jam, the fact that he's calling means his range is pretty strong. I think it's probably 10s plus, maybe 9s. I don't think he ever does this with ace-jack, so I think maybe not even ace-queen. So I'm thinking like 9s plus an ace-king. So I really think he's well ahead of our of our range here with ace-8, so I think I'm just folding, even though we are getting, you know, relatively decent odds. We've got to play the rest of their hand out of position against a big stack. If these two were shorty and they were both 10 big blind stacks, then I'm probably calling, because then there's no future action. But at this stage, I think I'm most definitely folding. But we call, and that's a pretty ugly flop for us. And then see, we have to fold to a 1500. You know, that's a 1/10 pop bet just about. And so if we're folding to that on this flop, then basically we've just lit an extra 3.5k on fire pre-flop. So yeah, I think folding is definitely the way to go. And see, he had ace queen, and we would have chopped, but I think it's a good fold on the flop anyway. 8-4, ace jack is an open, and we get a 13 big blind shove, so I don't think we can fold, and that's fine. And we get there, so that's good. Ace king's an open, and we get a flat. Not a bad board to see bet, which we do, and take it down. Yep, I think king 5's a definite fold. There's no real need to. We've got a great stack now. Got 100 big blinds. There's no real need to get involved here, even though he has got a pretty big stack. The deeper we get in the tournament, the speculating is kind of less worth it, I guess. Three's a fold. Jack 5 on the button's fine. Actually, I don't know about it, because this guy has only got 3k. We're going to have to call him. Now, calling him is not so bad, because it's only 2.5 into 6 or whatever, but the fact that it just ruins our image completely if we call here, because they're just going to see that we're opening trash from the button, and it means that this guy in the big blind is going to start making our life hell. So I probably just fold here, to be honest. And we get a flat, and then we get a donk lead, which is just really sucky for our hand, and we have to fold. So with this guy in the small blind, I'll probably just fold there. But I might open something like, king 8, because I think king 8 is probably good enough for value against his shoving range with the odds involved, but I don't think jack 5 is. A7 open is fine. We get a flat, and we c-bet. Now on this turn, I think after we check 2, I think we have quite a bit of showdown value here now. So I'm probably just checking behind and trying to get there, which you do, which is good, and we bink, which is always good. Now on this river, it's pretty hard for us to rep anything, because we backed into trip 7s here, so I would be really bombing it here, and trying to make it look bluffy, so that I really think that any jack is calling. I think that something like 10s or 9s or 8s could hero us if we bet pretty big here. I think if we bet 3k, it looks a little bit more value-y, so I'd even bet like 4.5, 5k here. Just really bomb it and try and make it look like we're stealing and try and get a hero. See, yeah, this just looks pretty value-y, and I think if he had a weak jack, he might even fold it. But yeah, I think if they're going to call, actually, yeah, I think if they're going to call 3k, I think they might even call 5k as well. So kind of like just bombing it. I mean, I don't know what anyone else thinks there, but ace 3 off mid position, I kind of like just folding. I think it's a little bit hard to open, because now, wow, we're obviously folding now, but I think it was just a little bit not quite a good enough hand. Probably more like open, something like Queen Jack suited. I'd rather open there than Ace 3 off. Just it gives you a lot more options to stay aggressive on the flop. So, oh, limp. Yeah, don't like limping ever. This is a better hand to open than the Ace 3 off, to be honest. I'd rather open there. And once we get that sort of flop, I think I'm just check giving up. Because I think that stab on the flop, given that we're three-handed, it's a very drawy board. Pretty much all, if he has Queen 10, he's not folding. If he has King Queen, he's not folding. There's just so many of his limping range. He could have a jack, he could have a 9, any spades calling. There's just so much out of his limping range that's calling. So I really just like check giving up after as played. Ace Queen's an obvious open, and we've got a flat and a shove. Now his flat is pretty weak, but I really don't like flatting here, and so he can come along. So I kind of like clicking it back to say 10k and just getting him to fold, and then if he shoves, we can make a decision on, probably have to fold, which sucks, but I really want to try and isolate this guy now. I don't really want to play this hand three ways, so I'm probably clicking it back here. And you do, that's brilliant. I really like that, because we really don't want this guy and having to play out of position. And we get there on the river, which is always nice. 5-2. Check to us, and we completely whiff, so we're check folding, obviously. I don't mind the ISO of the limp. I don't think we need to make it quite so big. I think 1800 is probably going to do the job. Maybe 2k. I don't think 24 is. It's a little bit big, but I don't mind the ISO, given that we can do that on just about any flop and he'll fold, because limping really sucks. Deuces. This guy here that raised has only got, what's that, 12k, 15 big blinds. So even though there's a couple of bigger stacks early on, I really don't like limping here. I think that's just a clear fold. I don't think this guy's stacking off often enough. Or sorry, he doesn't have enough chips to make it worth it when he does stack off, and we just stack him. His chips are only about 20% of our whole stack, so it's not really worth it. If he had a 60k stack as well, I think checking's fine. I think flatting's fine here, but I think I just fold, because that's going to happen so often, and you basically have to hit your set, and you're not really getting the correct odds to do that. Limp under the gun. I'd always be wary of this, because people do it with aces, but the first time I'd probably try an ISO. I really like this ISO sizing better. I think you probably should have done that last time as well, but the ISO doesn't work. It's a pretty nice board to see about though, which we do. Sizing, and that's a nice hand. I really like the way you played that, because we're also in position. Like the other time you isolated, you were out of the small blind, which means you have to play out of position if he flats. I really like this better, even though it was an under the gun limp. Sometimes at aces, most of the time it's not. But at least you get to play in position. So I think that's a much better way of going about it if you want to try and ISO some limpers. Queen 8's fold. This is good. This is, this is what you should have been doing the first time, and it seems like you've changed up your sizing from the first time. You're still getting flats behind, which really sucks. yeah, c-betting 3 ways is, on a board like this, is a little bit more drawy than the last one, which was ace 10. It's still not a bad board to c-bet though. I think I like that. And the barrel, I mean, what's this guy? This guy Adib El is a 47-9, and a lot of the times they just never give up. So he might be calling off with, if he has 10-9 or 8-9 here, he is never ever folding to a barrel. So a lot of the times I think it's just better to, I think it's just better to check give up on that turn. Because he's called again, and now we're in a really tough spot because he has a lot of 8s in his range, but we're going to be tempted to bluff at this because of the fact that there's only a one-liner to a left. And I have without looking at this hand, I have a feeling that you bet 10k on the river and he calls you off with 8-9. Oh, and you check fold, which is nice, but I really just think the second barrel just wasn't worth it because I just think it's going to get called way too often. This is about a bit over halfway through, so I reckon I might stop this hand history, like part 1 there, and I'll come back for the rest of it in a second.